Good evening, everyone. My name is Pari.
यदा यदा धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानमधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहं परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे.
The meaning of this shloka is, whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice or descendant of Bharata and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Vishnu is the name given to the protector and sustainer of the universe. Lord Vishnu has incarnated in various life forms through different yugas in situation where dharma was in danger because of certain evil elements in the world. There are 10 incarnations of Lord Vishnu. These incarnations are termed as avatars of Lord Vishnu. While many explanations are given for the 10 avatars of Vishnu, one can see striking similarity of these stories with Darwin's theory of evolution of life. Over the last 7 weeks, we have had blissful opportunity of gaining knowledge of 7 of the great avatars of Lord Vishnu. This evening, I am humbled to talk about the much-known, almighty Lord Krishna himself as one of the avatars about whom every little kid and adult knows about. This will be a challenge for me to concise all about this avatar in a 10-minute presentation. Please forgive me if I am not able to bring the full brilliance of Krishna Avatara to life. Before Krishna was born into the Yadav clan, Queen Devaki and his father, King Vasudeva, were thrown into prison by the queen's brother Kamsa because he heard a celestial voice saying that one of Queen Devaki's offsprings would be the reason for his death. Vasudeva pleaded that Kamsa doesn't kill his wife, so instead they were both locked in a prison with an evil intent to kill all of Devaki's newborns whenever they take birth. As soon as the first child was born, Kamsa received the news and mercilessly killed the child. This went on until one night, in the dungeons, while Devaki was expecting her 8th child, Lord Vishnu appeared in front of them and said, "I will soon be born as your 8th son, not only to end yours but the world's sufferings." And with that, he entered the womb of Devaki. That same night, Krishna was born. Vasudeva knew that Krishna wasn't going to be safe in his cell, and Kamsa would soon appear. But just at that moment, as the door to the cell that had been locked for many years slowly swung open. Carefully but quickly, he placed Krishna in a basket and crept through the door, making sure he didn't wake up any of the soldiers, who were, by virtue of divine intervention, in a deep sleep. As soon as he entered the outside world, he heard the rage of a terrible storm, but he knew he had to keep going. He knew that he was going to his dear friend's house to deliver Krishna, but there was only one problem. The two were separated by a long river, and the forces of nature were against them. The moment he arrived at the river, it slowly spread out, created a path for Vasudeva, and a 7-headed serpent made a moving shelter for him. Shocked, but knowing he shouldn't waste any time, he quickly crossed the river and journeyed all the way to his friend Nanda's house, which was situated in a small village. When Vasudeva arrived with Krishna, Nanda and his wife Yashoda already knew what to do. As it was to be, they had also given birth to a beautiful daughter that very night. They made a supreme sacrifice for the welfare of mankind, which is a lesson for all of us to learn from. Following the divine instructions, they switched their baby girl with Krishna, and a few hours later, Vasudeva was back in the dungeon with Nanda's baby. Kamsa was soon after informed that Devaki's 8th child was born and made his way to the dungeon. But, to his surprise, when he tried to kill the baby, a bright light filled the cell, and there appeared Goddess Durga, who revealed that Kamsa's destroyer had already been born. Angry and frustrated, Kamsa then tells all his soldiers to search the nearby villages and kill any baby who has been born on the same day of Krishna's birth. Meanwhile, back in Vrindavana, Krishna grew to be a simple shepherd, along with his older brother Balarama and his sister Subhadra. But he was also very cheeky and always irritated all the gopis who lived in the village. Despite this, he was the darling of Vrindavan. Such was his charisma and attraction. As a small boy, he also slayed many demons with his own hands, such as the ogress Putana and the snake Kalia. He was already giving evidence of his supernatural and godly powers used for the welfare of the oppressed. There are also many fascinating stories about Krishna's experiences as a child. For example, there is one year in Vrindavan where barely any rain fell over the farmers' land, meaning that they were low on food. So the village decided to pray to Lord Indra, as he was the only one that controlled the rain and thunderstorms. No one told Krishna that they were going to hold a festival to please the Lord Indra, So one day he came out to inquire his father about why everyone was decorating their houses and dressing up so nicely. When he found out the reason behind the celebration, he was astonished. He got all the villagers' attention and informed them that this is not Lord Indra who we should be celebrating, but instead a nearby mountain named Giri Govardhana. He said that this mountain is the reason for their great harvest. At first, the villagers were unsure because the mere thought of them being angering Indra scared them. But soon after, Krishna had managed to persuade them to pray to the mountain, and everyone began to prepare to pray to Govardhana. When Indra came to know that the villagers of Vrindavana weren't praying to him but a mountain, he was furious and decided to teach them a lesson. He called to the clouds and ordered them to flood Vrindavana. When the villagers started to experience extreme downpour, they knew it would result in a flood. So they all went to Krishna for help. Krishna knew that Indra was taking his anger out on Vrindavana, so he assured the villagers that the mountain Govardhana would come to the rescue. He then gathered all the villagers and took them to the foot of this mighty mountain. Then, as the villagers watched, he lifted the mountain with one hand and balanced it on his little finger. For the next 7 days, all the villagers took shelter until Lord Indra finally gave up and the storm came to an end. This teaches us that we should not blindly follow traditions, but learn to value those who actually sustain us and provide protection. He also displayed immense courage and conviction. This is something we should all aspire to be. Over time, he grew older and he learned the truth about his parents. He instantly knew that time had come to deliver justice and kill his uncle Kamsa for his sins. Along with his brother Balarama, he reached Mathura. As they walked through the streets, many people came out to welcome them by hanging garlands. That was the majestic and profound impact the brothers had over the sad and worried citizens of Mathura. When Kamsa found out that Krishna was still just a kid, he challenged Krishna and Balaram to a wrestling fight, not knowing of their strength. They both agreed, and as Kamsa told them that Krishna's parents would be released if he won the wrestling competition. Krishna won, and Kamsa freed his parents and became the prince of the Yadav clan. His story carries on in the epic of Mahabharata, which by no means can be discussed in any concise matter. There are many things we can learn from Krishna. Here are 6 simple life lessons you can learn from Krishna. We should always have time for everything. Therefore, never give up what you love. Lord Krishna always managed to inculcate the music he loved into his life. He never let his passion for music take the back seat on account of his commitments. He enjoyed playing his flute, mesmerizing those around him with lively tunes, but we intend to lose sight of our hobbies because of our many commitments. No matter how busy you are with your commitments, don't ever give up on your hobbies. We are social animals and we thrive on relationships. We need to connect with others, and we are deeply emotional beings. Our restless minds are forever analyzing and judging everything around us. Be like Lord Krishna. He shared a pure form of friendship with his poor friend Sudama. He loved all animals too. No matter who you are, you should always be humble and generous. In the story of Mahabharata, during the final great battle between the Pandavas and the Kauravas, Krishna, being the supreme lord, becomes the charioteer of his friend Arjuna, who was fighting on the side of the Pandavas. This shows that anyone who can be humble, no matter what role they play in their life. You should never look down on yourself. Krishna always told his friends to never allow what people say make you feel inferior about yourself. You should also always raise your voice to protect those who need it. Krishna stood up for his friend Draupadi when misfortune had fallen upon her. And finally, your duty towards your parents. Krishna demonstrated this when he managed to set them free. Krishna demonstrated this when he was a child, because when he found out about his real birth parents, he managed to set them free after wrestling with Kamsa. Thank you for listening today, and I hope you learn a thing or two about Krishna's qualities. Hare Krishna.